Go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, mother. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Happy holidays still as we roll into the end of 2024 and get you fired up for 2025. Not this weekend, by the way, but coming up on Tuesday. That is when the JMV Takeover will be back. And, of course, incredible in year number 5 coming up on Tuesday night. But a lot of things to do before that and a lot of conversations to be had. I hope all of you out there had a fantastic Christmas Eve and a fantastic Christmas Day. Christmas Eve, I had to roll down to Linton. You'll like Linton, and you'll like it even more now because they have one of these places. You guys know these places called Ollie's? James, Ollie's, you know what Ollie's is? James has no idea. Ollie's. It is kind of like a Big Lots, but not. I think what happens is, much like Big Lots, especially in terms of food and probably really everything else, you get the last in line. We think this is a really good idea until we send it out to the general public, and the general public says, we don't really dig this. So that's where you're going to find shrimp-flavored potato chips, for example. But I dig it, I do. Shout out to Ollie's. I tell you who digs it more is G. My mom loves some Ollie's right there. So shout out to Ollie's and Linton on Christmas Eve and hanging out for a little bit yesterday, but love to be back. And we obviously know the situation for the Colts coming up this weekend. They've got to maintain. No Anthony Richardson at practice today, something that just kind of popped up here recently regarding his injury situation. And I know that everybody out there covering that will not practice today. And obviously, we'll talk to Mike Chappell about this coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But there is a lot riding coming up tomorrow. If you believe with whatever percentage chance there is, 17 or 24% chance that they have of making it to the postseason, if everything can't fall in line, and it's tough to think about, because everything has not fallen in line. If you watch yesterday and the Texans, and I was incredibly wrong. I thought this division was going to be ripe to be so much better, and this has been the biggest piece of crap division that we have seen in a littering of years of it being a piece of crap division. It's been awful. From top to bottom. I mean, the top can't even get it right. But the top got it enough right to solidify its position as the division winner, like with 3 or 4 weeks to go in the season. That's crazy. And if you watched the Texans yesterday, holy crap. I know injuries, and there's no doubt about it, especially at wide receiver. Man, you hated to hear what happened to Tank Dell. You saw it, and then you heard that likely he's going to miss the entirety of next year. That may be the most damage to a leg that I think I've ever seen. It was like ACL, MCL, everything. Dislocated kneecap. Now, Stephon Diggs, they got on that 1 year, was done earlier this season. They had put so many bodies in position for this team to make a major move, and then they lose some of those bodies, and this team, frankly, has just fallen apart. And unfortunately for the Colts, still trying to, I guess, battle their way in. But wouldn't it have been nice? And we go all the way back to week number 1, when I so foolishly called that a must-win. At home against the Texans, it's foolish. It's a must-win. And everybody says, you got the entire season. How in the world can that be a must-win? Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate you. I know that thing weighs like 500 pounds, too, doesn't it? Huh? You tell you. That's why I'm so buff. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Eddie. Eddie Garrison went and got my bag and just realized how much my bag weighs 35 pounds. It's incredible. Anyway, getting back to the Colts and this particular season, what a year. What a year. Coming off an opportunity blown in the final week of the regular season a year ago to the Texans. Coming off that year, getting into this one. And, obviously in the first month plus of the season, you get the Texans twice, and you get close, but you don't cash it in, including that week number 1 matchup at home. And then now you look back. And now everybody says ifs and buts and candy and nuts and all that. Or, if I knew this, I think it was somebody that sent me something a little bit earlier. Maybe it was Jason Ellis sent me, if I had known what the lottery numbers were, that I would be a millionaire right now. Well, that included, but it's not that simple, and it's not that far-fetched to understand that you may have a lot on the season riding in a particular week's matchup, no matter when the hell it is on the schedule. Who cares? Whether it's week 1 or week 8 or week 12 or the final week of the regular season. That's what I'm saying. I am not fully against math, even though I cannot do it. However, it's not always about it. In football, it's about the moment and taking care of that moment. I mean, it's almost like what happens when you're playing, you get a get out of jail free card in Monopoly. I know a lot of you guys play board games when you're holed up for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Did anybody play Monopoly? I mean, you always keep these things just in case. A little insurance for yourself right there. Shout out to Brian Neer, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, the best out there. A little bit of insurance for what may be, and with this team, what will probably be down the road. Granted, you can look at other games, too, that really you have late game come from behind situations with both the Jets and the Patriots. I mean, hell, you could have easily lost that. But the fact remains, you go all the way back. You go back to week number 1, and if you were able to take care of that, I think it was Chris Hagan that said if you were to win one of those games, then right now you'd be in the driver's seat. And you're not. And once again, you find yourself in I'm not going to cite the fact that people say, well, if they get into the postseason, they're going to believe they're better than they are, thus no changes will be made. As I've told you, if they go 9-8, that's going to happen anyway. So you might as well get your ass to the postseason. Seriously. If they finish 9-8, that's how they're going to feel anyway. An over 500 loser is going to feel that way. So you might as well, and I say this all the time, what the hell you might as well, my clock's ticking on this bad boy right here. Year after stinking year. We were all living right going back to the Manning era, but clearly that's not been the case since those first 3 with the Andrew Luck era that began. But for those of you that say, well, if you go into the postseason, that's going to give them a false sense of security and they're going to make no changes. Believe me, if they win on Sunday and then again in the season finale and don't make it, they're going to look at it at 9-8, and I bet you they're going to stand pat. So that's what you're looking at now. That's why I say I don't care. Just get in there. Get everybody an extra game. Get your doors blown off. Get your doors blown off. You're not going to help yourself if they don't realize who they are right now. And I've always said this. You can't let your fan base be more right at times than you are. We have far too many times seen that occur. Tight ends in the past, wide receivers in the past. Seriously, you got to be 100% right about things. So I think everybody out there understands there needs to be changes made. So I don't think anybody out there is going to buy right now, even if you do squeak into the postseason. Or if you finish 9-8 and you think it's above 500 and you're going in the right direction and, hey, just wait. I mean, they were the ones that benched their 22-year-old quarterback. It wasn't you guys. It wasn't an injury. And they felt that could win them a couple of games while also dictating the tempo on how the 22-year-old approached things outside of the game itself, which is very convenient. Yeah, that was the decision they made because they thought that Flacco gave them the better chance. You know the story of that. What I'm trying to tell you is you might as well now, because 9-8 and outside the postseason is, to me, still going to give them that false sense of security that they will pass along to you. Just a thought. It's weird, too, because everybody that wants Ballard gone but wants Richardson to hang, and you're kind of on the fence regarding Steichen, keep this in mind. I'm not the biggest fan of timelines. In fact, when that's used in sports terms, I think it's normally just nerds that use it. So I go, all right, this nerd's talking about timelines, and I go, God, here we go again, timelines, great. But in this case, you've had a dude for 8 years. You've had a quarterback for 2. You've had a head coach for 2. I've said this before. I don't know how you do one and not do them all. So that's why I am siding on this team finishes 9-8 and they don't do anything. And they keep it the way that it is. And then they put everything on the maturation or lack thereof of the quarterback next year. So you tell me, might as well. Look at all the things in the past couple of years that have fallen into place that they've been unable to take advantage of. It would be nice if they were able to take advantage of something that was given to them, something that was handed to them. You know, this is not on a silver platter. I mean, this is something, I mean, really, I guess the end of the season kind of is, because these are 2 crapwater teams, but one crapwater team that you've never been able to beat in a situation like that. And then you got to hope for Carson Wentz in Kansas City. You hope for a lot of help. But that's how I look at it right now. I mean, everybody thinks it's going to be a quick open and shut case. If the Colts are eliminated from the postseason this weekend, and now they're going to get, if they finish 9-8, not so fast. It's my thoughts. We'll get to that with Mike Chappell. That's coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Again, thank you all for joining us. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Drew Jameson of the Diamondbacks, formerly of Greenfield Central in Ball State, has endured, fought through, on the grind, Tommy John this past year. And we'll check in on him. I think he held a camp last week, but we'll check in on him coming up a little bit later on in the show. And Alex Golden, I was on a podcast. I'm assuming that is up there. We did it at about 1 in the morning on Monday night to Tuesday morning, because I think he realized I'm the only idiot that would be up at that point in time. But I love watching this version of the Pacers. This is who I talked about they needed to be again. Now you're going to get an interesting test. And you had 3. I just go back to Phoenix last Thursday. But now they're 3 road games in, and people can tear that one apart if they want. And you're probably asking what I mean by that. Well, Phoenix had, been hovering around, 500 in that neighborhood. Started out really well, not played as well as of late. Devin Booker missed basically the entirety of the second half. People will tear that win down a little bit. Not me, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying what people are going to do to be critical of it. I see what I see. And the basketball is much more what we expected it to be. It was like last year. And you can see it in their numbers climb. Offensively, and really defensively, their numbers are getting a lot better too. We'll get to that coming up with Alex Golden in the 4 o'clock hour. But you look at Phoenix and you look at Sacramento, that should be better and isn't. And then you look at Golden State. Golden State started out like a house of fire. They've cooled off since. They went on and got Dennis Schroeder, and then they got beat by the Lakers on Christmas Day yesterday. But still, that's not what matters here. What matters is the style of play that the Pacers are able now to collectively dictate. That's what matters, along with the wins. You don't look at, well, that team's not this good, and here's why. That team's not this good, and here's why. You look at what the Pacers are doing to be better. If you're not, you're wrong. Because they are playing better, no matter what their competition is. And what I was going to tell you, they're going to get heavy competition later on tonight. OKC, I love. I love watching them play. They get it up and down the floor. They've got a zillion pieces to that thing. They really, what they have kind of what and how you view the Pacers. They just got a lot of pieces that work really well together. And a standout guard. They're kind of out west. You would argue that they could have more firepower, certainly, because some of their guys off the bench. But this is a really good gauge tonight. And then the next two after that, both on the road in Boston Friday and Sunday. And then back on New Year's Eve here against a modified Milwaukee team that's a hell of a lot better right now than the way that they were playing prior to. So these teams are going to be the ultimate here. And I struggle to imagine what this would have been like had the Pacers played at the level in which we thought they could on the road. Think about that, right? Hopefully you can get Phoenix, and they did. And then everybody felt good about that. Now you got one in this 3-game Western road trip. That's great. Then you end up getting Sacramento and then bowling out Sacramento. And then you get greedy. But what we found out, for them to get back to 500 now, that was necessary. And I think it's necessary for them, too. I think that they needed to play this way consistently to build it up for themselves, much like they needed to play this way consistently to show us. But everything else, put that to the side. I'll give you a great example for tonight. You go back to the NBA Cup thing, and you have a good three-point shooting team in OKC, could not hit the side of the proverbial barn. Who cares? Doesn't matter. This is what matters tonight. And again, the style of play that is dictated by the Pacers. That's what they did a year ago. That's why you fell in love with them. That's why this thing continued. And really, they're in a similar position as they were this time a year ago. All of a sudden now, as the calendar gets ready to change, they are playing at a higher level. Now, we didn't have expectations a year ago. This is all unfamiliar and incredibly new. Refreshing, but unfamiliar. And you just kind of learn to love it. The only thing you really had to complain about, well, obviously with me, anything that ever happens with 33, even with 2 incredibly good games, I still get crap from idiots, but those are idiots. The only other thing that you complained about was the lack of television coverage. How can I see them? I can't watch them. I can't get them. I can't do this, and I can't do that. But this is more like what we expected. This was more like that team when they ended their run in the postseason of the Eastern Conference Finals that you expected, that I expected when they said, we're basically running this thing back. And that's what you've had, certainly, to me. I'm just gauging by the last 3 right here. And I think that's incredibly fair to do. The last 3 that we have witnessed with the Pacers, that is more like it. 5-game win streak and all, but 3 on the road in what is a highly valued 3-game Western road trip that they swept. As you're going to have, kind of wonder, either Hans or Franz, which one of the Magic is out? It's I think it's the brother, right? It's Mo. Mo Wagner is out. I think Franz Wagner has been out. Mo Wagner's out for the season. Kind of wonder if the Magic can maintain 7 games above 500. The Bucks, as I talked about, are playing much better. Pacers are getting the heat upcoming as well in the new year. 14-13, but kind of an evolving situation there with Jimmy Butler wanting to dictate his terms out of South Florida. Got the Hawks. The Hawks with the conversation of this year's NBA Cup, even on the season, and then you got everybody else in and around. I would suggest this, too. If you could get the big three consistently on the floor together in Philly, you watch what they could do yesterday in Boston. You watch out for that. But they have to be consistently on the floor. I thought Embiid, ruined his entire year by tripping over the security guard yesterday in warm-ups. They end up winning in Boston. I know. You look down the list here at some of these losses with the Pacers. What do they got? 2 to the Raptors, 2 to the Hornets, 1 to the Nets. Are those 5 games? This is off the top of my head. Am I right about that, James? Those 5 games with teams with 11 wins or less in the Eastern Conference, the Pacers have to make up some ground here. What did I say? 1 to the Nets, 2 to the Hornets, and 2 to the Raptors? I believe that to be the case. So teams 11 wins or below, they have 5 losses to. I'm pretty sure that's accurate right there. This is what they're trying to make up for right now. Tonight starts a really decent gauge to the end of the season to see exactly where this team is, even beyond what we've witnessed over the past 5 games. Pacers OKC right here coming up later on tonight. Pacers at 15-15 on the season. Was I right about that, James? Yes, sir.
Say what was it again? Say the teams again.
1 loss to the Nets, 2 to the Hornets, and 2 to the Raptors.
The Nets have 11, the Hornets have 7, and the Raptors have 7 wins.
Yes, I was thinking playing the Pacers though. I think the Pacers lost 5 games to those 3 teams.
Oh, okay, yes.
Damn right. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Dre Jameson, the pride of Greenfield, Indiana, and Greenfield Central. You remember him, a pitcher at Ball State, a first-round draft selection, I want to say in, was it 2019, I think it was, out of Ball State? I think he was a Greenfield Central grad in 2017, 2019 out of Ball State. And he just went through Tommy John. He's going to join us at a camp, going to join us about his offseason. We're not too far away again from a little baseball. Once we flip that calendar and get into a new year, you're only about a month and a couple of weeks off of the start of that. And Dre Jameson is going to join us from Greenfield Central High School on the Arizona Diamondbacks coming up. Alex Golden of Setting the Pace. Again, I was on the podcast last Monday. We'll talk about that and the Pacers and a lot more with Alex and Mike Chappell. Anthony Richardson, no practice today. Couple of must-win situations for real. That's everybody involved. Not just the nerds that I have to talk into it more than occasionally anyway. Now, everybody knows how must-win this is. On the road against the Giants coming up on Sunday. You had 2 games yesterday. You got, 3 more coming up on Saturday as well. And a lot could be ironed out by Saturday, too. Both the Chargers and the Broncos with afternoon and late afternoon affairs coming up on Saturday, a part of Week 17. All right, 239-1070. Email address, jmv at 1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Sign up to be a AAA member. Hey, do that today. Quick break, we'll come back. Dre Jameson is going to join us on the other side. Plenty of time with me and you at 239-1070. Happy holidays. Hope everybody is enjoying, and hopefully you get it all the time off. I would not hassle with the returns today. Kick back, relax, crank up the radio or whatever means in which you get this show, and let's have a hell of a 26 with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, who watched the Christmas movie? God, James, well done, buddy. Die Hard at some point in the last 2 days. You got to do that, don't you? Ho, ho, ho. James back in studio. I'm John. Tomorrow, Tom's Watch Bar downtown, Bud Light Blue Friday. I want to see everybody there. We have tickets for the regular season finale to give away. Those incredibly artistic and awesome Colts shoes we've been giving away, too. We got those for you. Gift cards and a lot more. Tom's Watch Bar, that's right here downtown on Illinois. If you haven't been yet, I think tomorrow's one hell of a time to join us. Again, Tom's Watch Bar, Bud Light Blue Friday. That is going to sneak up on us quickly coming up tomorrow. Alex Golden setting the pace. Mike Chappell, no Anthony Richardson at practice today. We'll go into further detail with Mike coming up here after 5 o'clock. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he is a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He is a former pitcher at Ball State, a first-round draft selection, and the pride of Greenfield Central High School, Dre Jamison, who joins us now. Dre, good afternoon. Happy holidays to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Help me out here. Why all of a sudden there are so many incredible athletes coming out of Hancock County here? Has it always been the case and we're just overlooking it? But it seems like that over the past, 8+ years, maybe even started with Kyle Gibson. All of a sudden you're getting all these incredible athletes coming out of Hancock County.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, it's different timing and, hey, who knows? It might just be a fluke in the air. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some athletes coming out of here, just like Braylon Mullins now. And, yeah, I mean, there's just some dudes. You
going over to watch him play any high school hoops since you've been back here?
No, I'm going to go Saturday, though, to Newcastle and watch that because I hear it's a must-see. So.
Oh, yeah. That'll be a hell of a good time for you, too. It's Dre Jamison with us. I know you had that camp. I want to double back and bring that up as well. But, all right, in full detail, if you wouldn't mind, go back this past year and obviously in full detail, talk about what this has been like to go through for you. Both for you, I guess, in this case, Dre, but for everybody around you as well.
In what aspect? Of the injury?
Yeah, the injury and then grinding through it and obviously getting through here on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had an injury at all, honestly, throughout my whole career of baseball since I was 4. So an injury like this, I mean, I've been out for 15, 16 months. It's definitely a grind, and it's definitely, you have to be mentally strong in the sense of, I haven't not played in a competitive game as long as I haven't right now since I was 4 years old. Like, it's never happened. So it was a lot. It was honestly really different, and it took a lot of people around me, early on, and then as the year went on, it was more of just it was routine based. So now it's like you have to look at the road ahead of you instead of like right now. It's like, okay, like what is this going to do for me later on in my career? And that's kind of where my head had to shift to with this injury, just because it is such a long recovery and things like that. So, yeah, the guys around me and my training staff there in Arizona, they're great. And, they were riding with me as long as I was there, and it means a lot to me. And definitely the people around me, such as like my family and stuff like that, it's just kind of, there's not much you can do, it happened and that's just what it is. So, now all I can do is just grind and try to get stronger and work on myself. So when I do come back, I come back better than when I was.
And we want those options out there, and your only option is to put your head down and do the work. And that, I'm assuming, became your routine. One of the real reasons, I would guess, to why you're where you are right now in Major League Baseball is via routine over and over again until you master it. And this is another one of those things where you had to dive into a routine-oriented situation, even though that would not have been high on your list of things you wanted to do.
Exactly. And one thing I will say that it kind of opens your eyes in the sense of, like, you know, when you're going to the field every day, you're like, some days you're like, man, like, this sucks. I just want a day off. Or, you know, you're on a 14-day, no day off, and it's just like, I just want a day off. It makes you realize, like, you don't want to take baseball for granted, for me at least, baseball, just in the sense of, like, one day I was playing every day to the next day, baseball could be done for me, you know? And still, like, to this day, it's like, okay, like, I haven't been in a game. So it's like, all right, how am I going to play in the game? Am I going to recover completely? Like, is my elbow completely good? So it makes you realize, like, this game could be taken away from you, like, in the snap of a finger, you know? So you just don't take it for granted, and you just go out and you have fun, and yeah.
I saw where a former teammate of yours, Mark Melanson, gave you some advice. And that advice was, Dre, for you to get the process from the doctors and those rehabbing around you, and don't question it, and put your nose down and go at it. I'm assuming that was high-level advice right there, because that's exactly what you have to do.
100%. Mark Melanson, you know, early on in my injury, helped me out a lot. He went through this early on in his career, and I mean, obviously, Mark Melanson's been doing this for a very long time at a very high level, and you know, the guy's known for what he's done in the league for sure. So definitely with him by my side early on, and it was a huge help for me, and to realize, like, because at first when I first got it, it was like, yo, just go get the surgery, redo it, like, you'll be good, you'll come back strong, put your head down and go. And you know, I kind of questioned it, and that's why we were trying to, when the injury first happened, I think it was on July 4th, July 5th against the Mets. I wanted to try to, like, come back because it wasn't completely torn. It was like an acute tear. So I tried to come back, and obviously when I got the bullpens, it didn't work out, and that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to go get surgery. But, Mark Melanson definitely has helped me out a lot through that process.
It is Dre Jameson. He is the pride of Greenfield Central High School in Ball State. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I don't want to bury the lead here at all. What's the expectation? When do you consider yourself, or I guess time-wise, when would you consider yourself being back?
So I'm completely healed. I'm completely ready. So hopefully you guys will see me on opening day.
Throwing some seeds right now, are you?
Would you?
No, throwing some seeds right now. You got the velocity back and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying, man. I mean, we're definitely there. That's for sure. So, you guys will see me on opening day.
Oh, that's awesome, right there.
I'll make sure of that one.
Yeah, it's Dre Jameson with us. That is fantastic too. Tucker Barnhart's a good friend of mine. I talk with him all the time as well, and he's a sound advice giver in terms of somebody that's been in Major League Baseball forever, and it's always kind of interesting to hear it from his side of things, too. Besides, Melanson was one that you played with in Major League Baseball, and your family, who else you leaning on through this entire process to get through it and now being on the other side of it?
You know, it's just kind of like, you know, the guys I went up in the league with, like Ryan Nelson and Brandon Fott and, you know, some of my close buddies in the sense of, you know, just baseball and like who I went through the minor leagues with. It's funny you bring up Tucker. I didn't get to actually play.
I wondered that Tucker, too, because you guys kind of crossed paths, but you didn't really cross paths, right? I think that's how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the dugout. I was around Tucker a little bit when I was hurt, you know, because I would go to some games and he was there. And Tucker's a great dude. He's a great leader. And he's a hell of a baseball player. But, Yeah, I didn't actually get to play on the field with him, but I mean, I was in the locker room, I was in the clubhouse, I was, I didn't get to travel and do all that stuff with Tucker, but I definitely was around Tucker, and he's one heck of a leader. And that's another guy. If I could ask advice from, I would trust a word that he said to me. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's been there and done that with nearly everything. There's no doubt. Then I would ask, you can ask the advice of Drew Storen would give you the advice even if you didn't want the advice too. So you can lean on Drew. I mean, if you didn't want it, Drew would probably still give it to you, and then would be good and solid. So that's kind of how that works right there. So yeah,
exactly.
It's Dre Jameson with us. So how was the camp? Yeah, sorry we missed out on that. I think that was at the end of last week as well. Is this something that you have done over in Greenfield and something you're going to continue to do out there? How's that work?
No, so I haven't been doing that. So me and a buddy, Mitch Gibson, Greenfield Central High School baseball head coach. We went to high school together, and then we almost played at Ball State together as well. He ended up going his own path before I got there, but really good friend of mine, and he just kind of reached out to me and was like, hey, I think this would be really cool. I think we should start a camp. And what we're trying to do is maybe do 3 camps a year in different locations other than just here in Greenfield, and just kind of give back to, because I'm big, and even Mitch Gibson's big on giving back to these kids that maybe aren't able to be around a high level, and I'm not calling myself a high level, but I'm saying a high level player in a sense, to make them, I don't know, when I was a kid, it's like if I could have been around or went to a camp with a professional baseball player, it made me want to go more. It would made me want to work harder at my craft to maybe achieve bigger and better things.
Yeah.
So and for me, it's like, hey, that'll be fun. It'll be really cool. So me and Mitch basically are going to start doing this every year. We're going to try to do at least 2 or 3 camps, and try to make it feasible and free for a lot of sense. But I mean, we also have to, whatever, that doesn't matter. But yeah, it's honestly, I can't take full credit of it. That's Mitch Gibson, Greenfield Central High School varsity baseball coach.
Well, this is great too. I will say this, Dre, that the state of Indiana and those that have made it to the major league level have done an outstanding job. And this really, I thought, started, maybe could have started before that, but I just was recognizing this back during Scott Rowland coming back, the Hall of Famer. It all kind of started with, it all kind of started with him. And you guys do a fantastic job of coming back and, helping push those along in the game of baseball that you were once just like growing up around here.
Exactly, and then I feel like a lot of times these kids, they think that level is impossible to reach.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's really not. As long as you put your mind to it and you work hard, anything's achievable. And if that's not baseball, if that's not football, if that's not basketball, it might just be in life. And I think that's the biggest key is being successful in life isn't just if you play a sport, is to be at a professional level. You can go do things within your work career and whatever you want to do in life, the goal is to your work ethic and is the main purpose of all of it. And if you want to go be a doctor, if you want to be a truck driver, if you want to be whatever you want to be, you got to put work in to be the best at what you want to be, and you'll be successful within anything. And it's funny you bring up Scott Rowland. He was my coach on Team Indiana back when I was in high school when we went down to Jupiter, Florida. It was a really cool experience. But, it boils down to just basically giving back knowledge that I know. Even if I know any, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I know a little bit about, work ethic and, what it took for me to get to where I'm at and little stuff like that to just give it back and because it takes nothing but time, So it's not that hard.
Well, we're going to stay in touch. All right, I'm going to have your number now, so get ready.
I'm ready.
We're going to have you on here often. We're very happy that you're back and good to go. We'll follow you as we approach pitchers and catchers reporting in the not-too-distant future, but we'll stay in touch once you get back into it out there in Arizona, man. But anything you need here from us, anything you want to get out there, let us know, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Dre, thank you very much. Dre Jameson right there, and happy holidays to Dre and his family. That's a fantastic story. Tommy John wiped out the past year, but obviously, as he described, got through it on the other side and good to go this year. Dre Jameson, Greenfield Central High School, Ball State, and the Arizona Diamondbacks on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Alex Golden, top of the hour, setting the pace. Got some Pacers, OKC conversation straight at you in less than 15. Sit tight. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
107.5 The Fan.
Dre Jameson of Greenfield Central, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, an MVP of the NBA candidate, over 30 a game, is in town at the guard position for, I want to say, the 25 win with a 23-5, 25-3, I think 23-5 OKC Thunder. I will tell you this, as much as I watch basketball in the NBA, one of my favorite players, non-Pacers division, resides on the roster of OKC. And no, it's not Chet Holmgren, who is out with an injury. It is Jalen Williams. I am a tremendous fan of Jalen Williams. Just an all-around outstanding performer. Now that I bring this up, I don't know if I'm hoping maybe the reverse happens, because normally when I go so in-depth on somebody being great, the next moment they have the opportunity to prove me right, they go incredibly opposite. It's very much a Costanza effect I have. So I'm not trying to work that angle here at all, but I am telling you I love watching Jalen Williams play. 21-6 per game for OKC, their second leading scorer. You remember Isaiah Hartenstein last year with the Knicks. He has been really good for them as a free agent acquisition. Lou Dort of the Canadian team. Actually, I have a couple of Canadian guys. Gilgeous-Alexander's being one. Dort is the other. Tayson Wallace, I think, of Kentucky fame. Alex Caruso is the guy that they brought in. I think he is out tonight as well, right? Alex Caruso's out. Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins. This is a deep and talented team the Pacers get coming up later on tonight. You can catch it right here. And the discussion continues on the other side with Alex Golden of Setting the Pace. He and I had a podcast conversation on Monday after the Pacer Golden State win in San Francisco. We'll get into that and a lot more about the 5-game win streak for the Pacers and what has transpired in particular in the last 3 on the road. That has been very enjoyable to watch. Alex Golden on the other side. And cautiously optimistic are the Colts about Anthony Richardson. Cautiously optimistic, and tomorrow is a big damn day in terms of his participation on Sunday in New York. I'll explain that coming up on the other side. No practice for the quarterback today. Explanation, Stephen Holder report forthcoming. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
Oh, wait just a minute. Did anybody knock anymore?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Cautiously optimistic for quarterback Anthony Richardson's participation in New York on Sunday. No practice today. Explanation forthcoming. I was trying to think of a band from OKC right here, and I don't know why this one came to mind here. Did you get the non-cursing version here, cussing version here? I think this one probably cusses. This talks about getting stoned, right? It's not the... I believe this thing does cuss. Did you get the clean version?
I mean, I'm looking at the lyrics, so I'm trying to fade it out before we get there.
No. Are we coming? Are we on our way to some cussing, are we?
I actually can't tell. I have to click the show more.
You know, who cares? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everybody cusses on this show anyway. Who cares? Hinder from OKC. Seriously. Oklahoma City's Hinder. I believe that Hinder's going to be around here somewhere in the not-so-distant future. In fact, OKC is here coming up later on tonight. Just a fantastic season so far, and what Sam Presti has built down there from top to bottom is certainly at a high level coming to fruition. MVP candidate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mentioned how much I like Jalen Williams. Just a loaded squad invade Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight. Coverage right here on The Fan. And you've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 games that are incredibly difficult incoming. On the inbound beginning tonight with the Thunder, and from setting the pace, Alex Golden's on the Indy Moore Automotive Group hotline to discuss more. Alex, happy holidays to you. How are you?
I'm catching up on some sleep. I know we did a late night podcast Monday night after the Warriors game, and I got about 2.5 hours after that one before the next day. So
I wondered about you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm catching up. Today I was off, so it was nice to get some rest during the day. So.
Yeah, I bet it was. That was a good conversation. I don't mind going late. Am I the go-to, like, West Coast trip 10:30 game guy on your podcast? Is that me?
I would say more than likely, yes. My co-host, he cannot stay up past 10 o'clock, so it's just funny. He's like, I got to get my sleep, man. I can't do this one. I'm like, all right, I got to find somebody. And who else would be up late watching basketball other than JMV? So that is the guy that I go to. So
I'm cussing.
Yeah, great stuff.
Hey, by the way, OKC, James, the Flaming Lips are from Oklahoma City. I didn't know that. Is that the song, She Uses Jelly and Not Jam, or something like, what the hell is that called? She Uses Jelly? We got to come back in. Bump back into that coming up next. That's outstanding right there. I want to go back. 5-game win streak, right? So I want to concentrate on the last 3 on the road, and a lot can be done to downplay the teams that they beat. I don't think you can talk about enough. And for me, the example, as we talked about on Monday night, is how this Pacer team is playing compared to what we expected. And especially in these last 3, you have seen just that. The expectations that came off a year ago, the expectations we had the start of this year, and also some healthy bodies back in the mix right now, too. This is how I expect them to play, and that's when I know that they're playing at their highest level, when they're dictating the tempo to others. They have done that recently.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point saying, like, yeah, you could downplay with the opponents they face because Phoenix, Sacramento, and Golden State aren't playing their best basketball. But if you go back just a month ago, this was a team that was losing to the bottom feeders of the NBA on the road. They had no consistency. They had no flow. They had no pace, and they certainly had no defense. And I think if you kind of just look at how this team has played over the last 3 games, you're seeing all 3 of those improved. I think their defense has been the best it's been of the season, and that's led to their fast pace. And I think that fast pace has led to some pretty good offense. So it's really just remarkable to see how well this team has kind of figured things out. And I think you're right. The biggest thing was getting an Andrew Nembhard healthy, getting Ben Shepherd back into the mix. While we've seen some growth from these two-way players like a Quentin Jackson or an Enrique Freeman, you don't want to see them playing 20, 25 minutes a game. And so I think the Pacers are in a much better spot now that they've got some healthy bodies. And I agree with you. I would anticipate this level of play moving forward. Obviously, you can't beat every good team, but I think that they have done a very good job of, kind of figuring things out after that layoff there during the post-Charlotte game where they had some time off.
Alex Goland of Setting the Pace on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. Happy holidays to everybody out there, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday. Tom's Watch Bar tomorrow on a Bud Light Blue Friday. I've got Colts tickets to give away, so I'd love to see you downtown on Illinois at Tom's Watch Bar. I mentioned dictating tempo, and I left out of that first question, and my thoughts on why they're playing better is, simply put, the orchestration of Tyrese Halliburton. He is so much to so many on this team, and now you see him putting guys in position where they feel comfortable in scoring again. That's why they were so good offensively along with pace a year ago, and I think that's why they've gotten better here recently with the play of Halliburton starting it all.
No, I mean, it's a great point, and we've seen Halliburton kind of, have ups and downs already this year, and his numbers aren't as gaudy as they were last year at this point in the season, but I think one of the best things about Halliburton is his ability to get guys involved, like you said, and Miles Turner was a prime example of that in Golden State. It was Halliburton kind of doing his thing, setting people up, and the criticism for Halliburton a lot this season has been not enough shots, too many three-pointers, not enough inside the arc. But one thing I'm noticing over this past 3 to 5 games here is, while he might not be shooting as much in the arc as you'd like, he's getting into the paint and then splashing them out for guys getting open threes or guys cutting at the right time. So it's a better version of Halliburton than what we've seen previously. But a lot of people want to see Halliburton be like a 25 points per game, 12 assist type of player. But I think if you look at the strength of this Pacers team, it's when you see 6 or 7 guys in double figures compared to just, Siakam,
right,
Turner, and Halliburton carrying the load for 75 points. It's like, yeah, you can win games that way, but I think when you can get multiple guys in double digits and the ball is just, spread out, it makes this team more hard to beat. And I think that is the key to this team's success overall. And I think that is one thing we've really seen over the last couple of games.
Well, I'm going to say this. The team they see later on tonight with Gilgeous-Alexander puts up 30 a game. He's an MVP candidate, no doubt about that. But they also spread the offensive wealth around a great deal, much like, and that's how they are as good as they can be, much like that of the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, OKC is one of the best teams in the Western Conference, if not the best team. So they're the team probably everyone's looking to beat. They've gotten a lot better defensively by adding Alex Caruso and then signing Isaiah Hartenstein in the offseason. And you put that with the guys they already had, Lou Dort, SGA, Jalen Williams. When Chet gets healthy, obviously, he's a big part of their team. So, yeah, they've done a really good job of building a group. And, sure, SGA is kind of that top 5 guy, MVP-level guy. But it really comes down to just the way they play defensively that impacts their offense. And SGA does a very good job of driving, getting to the basket, creating fouls and things like that. So I think that this is a very, very talented team. And, they're one of those teams that it took a while to kind of get to this point, but they've done a great job with their resources, drafting the right players that fit their culture, making the right trades. Like, nobody's looking at like an Alex Caruso trade as like a monster trade that's going to break headlines, but he's a game-changing type of player. So I personally just think when you look at the way they have kind of assembled this group, it's very fun to watch and very cool to see how well they played. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a very tough game for the Pacers, especially I know it's at home, but like this is a very good Oklahoma City team, and they're going to make sure that their defense does cause some havoc on the Pacers offense tonight. It'll be interesting to see how they match up. The
Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, I mentioned this before you came on, is one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. I mean, he really is. Now, and people say, well, you're just saying that, so he's going to have a bad game tonight because I have that kind of Costanza effect on everybody that I talk about in that fashion. But truly speaking, when I'm watching OKC, I enjoy watching him about as much as I enjoy watching anybody.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really talented, and it's really fascinating to see how much he's grown offensively, too, as a player since he got into the league. And he was this late riser in the draft, if people forget. His name started becoming like a draft darling a little bit, and he just kind of shot up the draft boards. But I wasn't really familiar with his game until, the NBA draft happened and people were talking about his game. And I'm like, okay, let's see what this guy can do. I think Santa Clara, not the most popular school to think of good players coming from, but
Steve Nash, baby. Come on now.
Yeah, I know Steve Nash was from there, but aside from Steve Nash, like who else has gone to Santa Clara? So, but it's great to see. And I think OKC has done a terrific job of targeting the right type of players that fit their system. I think Orlando's another team that's done pretty good at that because they like to get long, lengthy wings. But OKC just has a very good eye for talent. And if anybody ever is going to make a trade with OKC in the draft, you might want to see who they're looking to draft and then just say, the trade's off, take that player, because they have a very good scouting team, and I think they do a great job of assembling the right team.
Yeah, 23-5 on the season. And honestly, they're 3 games and 3 wins clear of that cup matchup with the Bucks where they couldn't shoot their way out of a sack. Honestly, and they're such a good team from distance, and they were awful in that final in Vegas, only putting up 81 points. But it looked like in the games after that, I think Orlando and Miami and the Wizards, they look back into normal offensive form.
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is hope and pray that they've got the holiday blues, and they have a replica version of what they did in that final game against the Bucks in their championship game for the NBA Cup. But remember, that game doesn't count against the record either. So that is that's one they can just wash away the stats. They don't exist. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping for, is just a cold night from OKC from outside, make them a little bit more one-dimensional, and hopefully you can, play off that. But I think the Pacers are playing really good basketball, really confident. So I don't think they're going to come out, intimidated by that. But I think that Halliburton tonight, it'll be very interesting to see how he plays against this team, because Alex Caruso has had his way with Halliburton defensively the last couple of years. When he was in Chicago, it was always a tough matchup for him. So I'll be interested to see how he plays tonight, and if Andrew Nembhard can take his game to another level, if Halliburton is somehow kind of pulled out of what they're trying to do offensively because of Caruso's defense.
I believe Alex Caruso, is he out tonight, or has he been out?
I haven't seen, to be honest with you. I've been a little preoccupied as you.
Yeah, I understand. You got a different gig going on there. I thought he had been. I could be wrong about that, but I thought he had been. James, look that up when you get a minute, and you can check in and let us know. But I thought Alex Caruso had been listed. And I would agree with you. I mean, that's the reason why you make that move, because they have bits and pieces that can help them. It's like what they did financially to give that money to Hartenstein. With Holmgren going down, I mean, it's been really good for them, certainly, but he gives them rebounding and interior defense that Holmgren they wouldn't have on that team. James, is Caruso out tonight?
He is out with a left hip strain.
So no Alex Caruso tonight, Alex.
Okay, well, Lou Dort is still a pretty
He's good
defender.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on this show a couple of months ago when I called it the Dorture Chamber, and you asked me about that. But you got to remember, Ben Mathurin, Lou Dort, very good friends. Will be interesting to see if they go up against each other. I think when Mathurin was asked maybe his rookie season who his favorite player was in the league, he said Lou Dort. So a little bit of negative information there for you just with that. But I think this is going to be a fun game. I think the Pacers, if they can get this win tonight heading into a back-to-back against Boston, I mean, that they have to feel pretty confident with how they're playing. So it's just a matter of they've got to take care of business tonight. And if they lose this game, I'm not going to be surprised if they do, but I want to see them play at a high level. I want a competitive loss more than they get blown out by this team. I just feel like that's where I'm at with this Pacers team. I want to start believing in them, right? Cautiously optimistic. But I'm still a little bit hesitant to really be like, okay, I feel good about this team and where they're headed. I want to see more of it against some of the upper echelon teams in the league as well.
It's Alex Golden setting the pace. Pacers, OKC later on tonight here on The Fan, and Alex is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We mentioned a lot of things regarding this Pacer team that has gone right in the past 5 games with wins, but how much recently can you pin on guys coming off the bench with McConnell and Toppin being fantastic here as of late?
I think that's a big reason why they're playing so much better. I think the starters obviously have found a group that's been working really well together. The starting 5 of Nembhard, Mathurin, Halliburton, Siakam, and Turner, their numbers have been through the roof in terms of defensive rating, offensive rating, and net rating, which makes it easier when you bring in your bench guys to have their impact be more impactful, because we know that McConnell does what he does almost every single game. Obi Toppin, the month of December, has been playing his best basketball this season. You throw in Ben Shepherd to the mix, and you add in Thomas Bryant, who they just got about a week and a half ago. And so now things are slowly starting to, come together because you're getting healthy, number one, but the guys off the bench, their impact is now being more felt because the starting 5 is playing better. Before, it was kind of like starting 5 was underwhelming. Bench comes in, tries to bring them back. Starters kind of like weren't able to close it out. So now if the starters can play better, that McConnell-Toppin impact is going to be huge because we know how well they fit into this system when they're playing fast and getting the ball up and down the court. You add a Ben Shepherd back into the mix, who's been shooting the 3-ball much better this season, or at least since he returned, and his defensive impact is just significantly better than some of the guys that were playing previously that because of all the injuries. So you just get someone that knows how to play the game in this system a little bit better. I just feel like that playoff, experience they got last year, those three, Toppin, McConnell, and Shepard, it's carrying over into the regular season this year, and I think that's why we're slowly starting to see that group have more of an impact on the overall games.
All right, Alex, when Aaron Nesmith returns, and I thought it was going to be mid-December, we're certainly now past mid-December, but when Nesmith returns, does he return to the starting lineup? Maybe not immediately, but at some point, and Mathurin goes to the bench, or does Mathurin stay as a starter and Nesmith comes off the pine?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, we talked about this on the podcast we did after the Warriors game, and I feel like that was kind of the most pushback we got comment-wise, is saying, no, you can't take Mathurin out of the lineup. This starting five is playing so well together. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? If this starting five can go on like a massive winning streak here, they win, 8 of their next 10 or something like that, and they're playing so well together, does Carlisle just say, hey, I'm going to kind of ride with this until it kind of falls apart and then go back to what worked so well for us last year? But there are just some stylistic things that I think make more sense for Mathurin to go back to the bench. And you put Nesmith into the starting five, I think it helps him get better defensively. And I think that it helps the bench have a different dynamic with more of a guy that can get you a bucket one-on-one. I know McConnell can kind of do that at times, but he's the only one that can. But if you have Shepard, Nesmith, Toppin out there with that second unit, you're not really having somebody else that can create for themselves. And I think that's where Mathurin could really fit into that second unit like he was planning on doing this year, kind of as their sixth man. But I think Mathurin has improved defensively this year. He's done a much better job of learning how to impact the game if he's not scoring, which has been something that has been a knock on him his first two seasons. So he's learning how to kind of play in the system, be more of a role player than being the guy. So it's great to see the growth, but I just feel like with Carlisle, the success this team had last year going to the Eastern Conference Finals without Mathurin and seeing how well that starting five played together with Nesmith in that fifth spot, I would not be surprised if Carlisle, once Nesmith kind of gets back to no minutes restrictions, that kind of thing, goes back to the original starting five, just because there's more proof of what they've done against, some of the toughest, competition in the playoffs, where Mathurin is kind of just still trying to, figure things out and what his role is supposed to be. So I personally think Mathurin off the bench makes more sense, but I can see them kind of riding it out if this group continues to play well.
My theory is, like, Mathurin and Siakam are ball stickers, but both are beneficial because it does stick with them, because it's 1-1 in the post for Siakam, hopefully getting a double team or whatever. And then, as you mentioned, Mathurin's a one-on-one player where the ball will stick as he tries to create his own. I think one ball sticker on the floor most often at one time is enough for me, right? So that's why I don't mind if Mathurin goes to the bench. I just kind of wonder how Mathurin will respond if he goes back to the bench. Like, it's easy for me to say it doesn't matter as long as who's playing at the end and you have success. But, I mean, to some of these dudes, if not most of these dudes, it does matter. Is there any effect either way with Nesmith or Mathurin regarding which one goes to the bench and how they may feel about that decision?
Yeah, I definitely think that Nesmith is one of those guys that he wouldn't necessarily be in. I don't think his play would be impacted by whether he starts or comes off the bench. I think he's just got one motor and it's the same the whole time. Where I do think that it could be more of a, an emotional roller coaster for Mathurin if he does get pulled from the starting five, especially if they're playing well. Mathurin is very observant of what's going on around him and what people are saying about him on social media. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a post that after the Pacers had lost to the Hornets, people were saying, it's clear Mathurin just does not fit this team, even though he might be the third or fourth most talented player on this group. He just doesn't fit this team. Mathurin reposted that on Twitter, and then all of a sudden, when people went to go find it, he took everything off for the whole entire year of 2024, and the last thing he had posted was like a highlight reel from the post-in-season tournament. So I think Mathurin kind of like gets into like what people are saying about him, and I think that it's kind of like this mental game with him where he's trying to prove to people that he can be better than what maybe he's been able to showcase with the Pacers because he's in a different role. But I do think that he wants to prove people wrong. He wants to be the best version of himself and be a great player in this league, which you love that mentality. But at the same time, I think that it will affect him more mentally and emotionally going to the bench and being asked to play a different role than continuing to start, because being a starter matters to a lot of people, and I think he's one of those guys that it will matter to.
It's Alex Golden of Setting the Pace on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The latest Setting the Pace with Alex and I from Monday night. And you can check that out. It's where you get your favorite podcast. A couple more things before I let you go. Any thoughts as we close in on the end of the year? And then obviously about a month, a little over a month and a half until some decisions need to be made as far as adjustments for any team, but certainly blue and gold wise. What are you thinking as we approach the new year here?
Yeah, I think it's tough because I feel like there's not a lot of people on the trade market that I think right now make a ton of sense for the Pacers in terms of what you're going to have to give up and what you're looking forward and getting back. Like, what position are they wanting to address? I mean, clearly this team is deep when healthy, but at the same time, this team has been struggling with injuries all year, and it felt worse, I think, than it actually was just because of the amount of injuries they had. So I think they can get healthy, start playing better basketball. You might see some more minor moves around the edges, try to save some money, that kind of thing. The biggest question mark, I think, is Miles Turner and his future with this team, obviously, going into the offseason as a unrestricted free agent with the Pacers not having the ability to extend him before the season's over. So that could be the only thing, is if there's any indication that he wants to walk and is unhappy with his role. But it doesn't appear that way. I think that if they were to move on from Turner, it would really be a setback for this overall season and where they're trying to go. So I think that they'll deal with that in the offseason more than at the deadline. But you never know who could become available, and if there's a player they feel like really fits their system, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But right now, your biggest trade pieces are probably a Jarris Walker or Ben Mathurin with Obi Toppin. And it feels like with the way Obi's been playing recently, why would you want to get rid of that guy, because he's been such a good fit with this group? And then do you really want to give up on such young talent in Walker and Mathurin this early into their career to make a small, upgrade at the trade deadline? I just don't necessarily see it, but I think if there was maybe like a salary dumping move where they could get some extra cap space so they're not that close to the tax, I could see something similar to that. But overall, I'm not expecting a very busy offseason for the Pacers.
Is there an available big out there? And clearly there's not, at least to me. But is there an available big out there to where the Pacers could target? Like when people say, we got to trade Miles, the time is now. Is he not still the perfect fit for what this team does, certainly offensively? And I know everybody always talks about the rebounding or whatever, and I got this some idiot that gets on me all the time because he doesn't play in the post, and this guy I think still thinks we're in 1992 playing in the NBA right now, but talks about needing more post presence, blah, blah, blah. It just seems like you have the perfect fit with the big on your team right now. Why would anybody, unless you're just a complete idiot, want to blank with it?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why, like I said earlier, is if the Pacers started losing a bunch of games here, right? Like they just go on this awful losing streak after winning 5 in a row. They're 8 games below 500, and the Pacers are like, okay, maybe this isn't the group that we hoped that it could become. We've got to make a change, and Miles Turner would probably be the first one to go just because of that contract situation.
Yeah, right.
That makes a lot of sense. But other than that, like fit-wise, like who else is out there in the market? That's what I was saying. There's not a lot of players to trade for that are being on the rumor mill that make a lot of sense. So to me, it's like you got to ride it out. I think that you have such a good history with Turner for the last 10 seasons that he clearly loves being in Indiana. He said Indiana is home for him. So, and also in addition to that, there's not a lot of other places to go in free agency in the summer for him unless they were to work out some type of sign and trade. So I think that's why I say you just kind of like kick that can down the road. And in terms of fit, I mean, Pascal Siakam, when he was traded here, he said that Miles Turner and Kevin Durant were the 2 players that he thought would be perfect fits to play next to. So, I mean, Pascal Siakam putting Turner and Durant in the same category is hilarious in itself. But I think what he's trying to get at is a floor spacer next to him. And I think that Turner's ability to space the floor and shoot the 3 at a high clip makes his team a lot better. We talked about it on the podcast we did. When Turner scores 17 points or more in a game, they're undefeated. When Turner is more involved offensively and he's doing what he does best in terms of spreading the floor, that's what matters the most. Defensively, he's taken some steps forward. I feel like the last 5 games, there's some moments where I've seen in the beginning of the season where it's like, man, is Miles still the elite defender that he used to be? But you see the clinic he put on Sabonis defensively. I mean, that was just a masterpiece, in my opinion, of what he was able to do with him, and then just building off of that. So Turner, to me, like, yeah, he can be a frustrating player. I totally get it. I've had mixed feelings about him for his entire tenure here, but his high highs are way better than his low lows, and I think that this team, when they get the best version of himself, they're going to win a lot of games, and I think that's why you kind of have to pump the brakes and just accept him for what kind of player he is, because what they ask him to do and what they need him to do are huge. Rebounding, sure, you could get better at that, but post touches, I don't necessarily think we need to see that from Miles. It's not his strong suit, and with Siakam being such a good post player, you don't have to worry about that as much. So I just think that they've got a good group here together in terms of what they need fit-wise, and no reason to mess it up just to try to make a fancy move for no reason. I think he is the best fit at the center, and he's probably a top 10 center in the league. You're not going to find another top 10 center out there on the trade market that's going to be an upgrade.
Yeah, I've never really understood why people would get upset or frustrated with him, because most of the time he's given exactly what I think people should expect that he gives. And now with Halliburton, he's a huge piece. Like people, if you didn't have the pick and pop opportunities here, this team offensively is completely different. Like I get some jackass sends me all the time, they should have gone after Hartenstein. All right, well, $86 million for Isaiah Hartenstein for a guy that can't shoot outside of shooting, 10-foot floaters. Yeah, good idea. Good plan you got there, jackass. I don't get why people, I guess, get so frustrated about him. But that's a conversation for another day. And I'm sure something will happen tonight and people will send me, well, this is why I get frustrated with him. But again, most of the time, those people are incredible jackasses. So that's the way that it goes.
Yeah, I just honestly what it is they look at the box score. They see that
that's
he
it.
gets
100%
rebounds a game.
Yeah.
And they're like, he should be rebounding double digits every time. He's 7 foot tall.
Right.
Why can't you get 10 rebounds?
100%.
And, there's times where he could be a better rebounder, right? Like that is a fair argument. You could say he needs to be a better rebounder, but are we really that concerned if he has 3 less rebounds a game, if that's what is causing the Pacers to lose? I don't think it's those 3 rebounds he didn't potentially get. I think it's a lot of other things that factored into it, but it's just because he's been here for so long and his stats have kind of been the same. Now he's increased when Halliburton came, I think, to about 17 points a game the last couple of seasons. So, you've seen a rise in points per game, but the rebounds have kind of stayed the same. And I know Carlisle did talk about how him and Lloyd Pierce were kind of challenging Miles to go out there and get double-digit rebounds every game. And when they do that, they're a better team, which, yeah, obviously that's a good point. But at the same time, if this team can win the rebounding battle overall, I think that's more important than individual statistics, in my personal opinion.
Big test later on tonight. Alex Golden's got you covered. Setting the Pace is the podcast, the latest one from Monday nights. Alex and I, after the Golden State Pacer win on the road in San Fran. Alex Golden on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It's a pleasure, man. Hope you and the fam had a great Christmas. Stay in touch.
All right, my man. Hope you guys did too, and happy holidays to everybody.
Right back at you. Alex Golden on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. No practice for Anthony Richardson. The Colts are cautiously optimistic. Stephen Holder has that info, and I'll tell you all about it coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Mike Chappell will discuss that coming up at the top of the hour. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
He's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma brings us the Flaming Lips, James. She don't use jelly. The album is Transmissions from the Satellite Heart. October 1993, James. Here it is. Oh, this is great. yeah. Oklahoma City in town later on tonight. The Flaming Lips for you right there. Don't you might dig that. Yeah, I also mentioned this, too. No Anthony Richardson at practice today for the Colts. Stephen Holder, ESPN.com, explains his status is in question. No practice today. The second consecutive day. And I don't know. I'd have to look this up. Has he ever played without being out or limited in practice during a week as we have seen him this week? James.
According to our own Kevin Bowen, he is not.
He has not played in the past in weeks in which he has been rather limited in practice.
Nope.
All right. Thank you for that, James and Kevin Bowen. Richardson first listed as did not participate yesterday, but that was an estimation and projected status because the team did not practice on Christmas. However, today, the team returned to the practice field. Richardson was not partaking in practice, according to Stephen Holder. It was Joe Flacco. Richardson did not miss any snaps in last Sunday's win over the Titans when he rushed 9 times, a career-high 70 yards. His rushing attempts have increased as of late. We know that, ramping it up since his return to the starting lineup back in week number 11 after the 2-game hiatus as a backup to Joe Flacco on the bench to learn himself a lesson. Well, this is me, not Stephen Holder, by the way. 9 more rushes in 4 of the 5 games since returning to the lineup. And according to Stephen Holder, the overwhelming majority of those attempts being designed runs. Cautiously optimistic is how this has been explained about Richardson and his status on Sunday. Obviously, it's a big damn deal for the Colts, who still have an opportunity if other things obviously take place. We'll be watching on Saturday. Chargers on the road in Foxborough against the Patriots at 1. Broncos on the road in Cincinnati at 4:30. And then obviously the Colts have to take care of their business. That is a 1 o'clock start on Sunday in New York against the Giants. Malik Neighbors did not participate in practice today. Like people were saying, well, this is a big deal. This is worthy of watching. The Colts will win with, or can win or should win with or without Malik Neighbors. It doesn't matter if the Giants on that day would unearth somebody you've never heard of to put up big numbers. That would be very Colts. 1 o'clock coming up on Sunday. Coverage begins at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning right here. But cautiously optimistic for Anthony Richardson and his participation coming up on Sunday, and tomorrow is a big damn deal to see whether or not he practices. And as I mentioned, and Kevin Bowen had mentioned a little bit earlier too, we have not seen him in a week of limitations of practice prior in a game that weekend. And we'll see if this is a first coming up this Sunday in New York, and obviously we'll watch whether or not he practices tomorrow. 239-1070 is the number. Phones in just a second. This quick note from Alex. Thank you, Alex Golden, for making my point. Let's say Miles averaged 10 rebounds a game. But the Pacers rebounding team-wise still would be bad. How much does that help? Listen, we have talked from Chad Buchanan to the Pacers themselves. It is a team effort. There's no doubt. What's he, 7 a game? If he gets around 7, certainly more a game, everybody should be satisfied with that. Although he's been challenged to get double figures, that'd be great if he upped that total. I'm more worried about what he does offensively and what he does to not just block shots. People think that he's a presence on the interior and the shot blocking has gone away. What you also notice is how others that want to invade that space in the paint are scared away by his presence. You don't have to block a shot. But what you do need to do is provide some resistance that may not be there out front. So, Alex, I think that's a great point. He fits on this roster as well as anybody. And if you can name somebody else outside of this jackass that always says, well, he's got to get in there and post. He's got to post him up. Yeah, okay. That's what you need in this era of basketball. 2 interior post players. Just like it's 1992. Well done. JMV. So if the Giants sign anybody off the street, put them on your fantasy roster immediately. You watch. I'd almost rather Malik Neighbors play. JR writes this, pre-gaming for the Pacers game at Tom's Watch Bar via JMV's recommendation. JR, thank you very much. I'll be down there coming up tomorrow, Bud Light Blue Friday. I've got Colts tickets to give away. We've got those specially made shoes for you we're going to give away, too. That and gift cards. Tom's Watch Bar, first time doing a show there. That is coming up tomorrow on a Bud Light Blue Friday. All right, 239-1070, as I mentioned the number, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. He is our good friend. Happy holidays to the one and the only Fulton. Hello, Fulton.
Hello, John. How are you?
Buddy, I'm outstanding. How was your Christmas?
Oh, I got some news for you, John.
Oh.
I got a new PlayStation 5.
You did not. Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
We're never going to see you again. You'll never emerge from your place again now.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What's your favorite game, buddy? What's your favorite game?
I'm playing Sonic X and Shadow Generations.
I have heard that Sonic, right? The Sonic game has reemerged now with fans out there. That's a big deal again. It was a big deal back. It was a little bit outside of my era, but at the end of my era, it was a big deal, and it's reemerged as a big deal again from what I've heard.
Yep. So what'd you get for Christmas, John?
Hold the phone here. I got a couple of shirts, and I got a pair of jeans that I can wear now because I was about out of them. And I got some boots. It was awesome. I got a big thing of cottage cheese, Fulton. Big thing of Daisy's low-fat cottage cheese. I got a sleeve of cans of tuna. Would you want to trade? You want to trade your PlayStation for my cans of tuna?
I don't know, but I might sell my old one. So.
Nah, man, I had a good one. I did. So
yeah,
I'm trying
I
to.
got a new bike already too. So.
Well, you stay in touch, buddy. I'm glad you had a great Christmas. Have a great New Year too.
I sure will.
Hey,
Maybe
by the way, hey, buddy, you got to learn. You got to learn September by Earth, Wind, and Fire on the ukulele for us.
Speaking of that, John, my mom was looking up something on Facebook, and it's the 50th song of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and it's called "Shooting Star."
Yeah, right.
Next year it'll be 50.
50, yeah, you will be 1975. Exactly. Your mom's accurate on that. So yeah, that's yes, exactly.
Yep, it sure will.
All right, Fulton, I appreciate you, brother.
Yep, we'll see each other again soon.
You got it. That is the legendary Fulton right there. Man, if he can do September on the ukulele, that'll make my day. James, what'd you get for Christmas? Good stuff? I was trying to think what else.
Shirts.
Yeah.
The sweatshirt that I'm wearing right here. So
Litzy
lucky.
Litzy got me an old school creamsicle Buccaneers hoodie.
I saw that.
So awesome, man.
That's a vintage find right there.
And then I got this. The fam got me this Temple of the Dog shirt
really?
right
Nice.
here. I found a bunch of stuff for Blake. I got Blake a 1990 Razor's Edge AC/DC tour, and these are mid-sleeve, kind of the baseball sleeve shirts, front and back concert T-shirt. It is so awesome.
Where'd you find that?
In Jasper, of all places. In Jasper, I go, I got to get this right here. It is so awesome. Razor's Edge 1990 World Tour of AC/DC. Front and back, that's how you know. See, this is not quite legit. There's no front and back. But that's legit. Marcus writes this: I've never disagreed with any of your must-win calls. It honestly doesn't matter where they pop up on the schedule. A must-win is a must-win. Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, I don't care if it is week one. It's about the matchup. It's about who you're playing. And now you look back and see what the way the Texans have completely fallen apart, how big that first month was, and especially week number 1 at home. And when I said must win and everybody laughed and everybody guffawed and it was all funny, you all know how serious business that is. Please never disagree with that point that I have again. It does not have to be constituted by coming up in a math equation. Who you play, when you play them. And week 1 was a must-win. A quick break, we'll come back. Your calls, Mike Chappell, top of the hour. No practice for Anthony Richardson. The Colts are cautiously optimistic regarding his participation coming up on Sunday. Quick break, we'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
questions? 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shout out to Fulton right there. A little Earth, Wind, and Fire going to celebrate 50 years. JMV, I know you talked about the Pacers tonight against OKC at the Fieldhouse, and then on the road Friday and Sunday in Boston, back on New Year's Eve against Giannis in Milwaukee. You're going to go see Jeff Dunham on Sunday. Jeff Dunham, is that the comedian that does the puppets?
Yep, he's the ventriloquist.
I can't even attempt to say that. Oh, the guy that does has his hand up the dummy's rear end, that one? Ain't gonna be here. Like Waylon and Madam and Willie Tyler and Lester? Is he close to that? Does he cuss?
I think he does.
Does he? Ventriloquist. I got it. See, I had to think about that one for a minute. And that brings out JMV 88 a little bit. I don't know. I've never seen it. And again, we were kind of forced back when I was growing up. You'd be watching the Hollywood Squares, and there's Waylon and Madam, or Willie Tyler and Lester. But no, Jeff Dunham. I want to say Jeff Dunham is sold out. When I went to see Timberlake last week, well, Jeff Dunham was close to sold out. And then what's that guy's name? Shane Gillis? Shane Gillis is sold out. Guys, dig on some Shane Gillis. But no Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist, coming up on Sunday. That's the 29th, I believe, for that. So certainly enjoy it. We do have a lot of good stuff. Before you know it, you guys recognize. Anybody out there get Billy Joel Sting tickets for Christmas? Anybody get tickets in general for Christmas? That's coming up in February, right?
I guess you could technically say I got tickets for Christmas because my brother's Christmas gift to me was he bought tickets for the Packers-Colts game several months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I guess
right.
technically
That's good.
that would
Good
work.
for you. That's what you're going to say. He bought tickets for me to go see Five Finger Death Punch or whatever that is. Is that what it is?
I'm surprised you got the name of the band right. Yep.
I get the Five Finger Death Punch and then Finger 11 mixed up all the time. But I never mix them up with Badfinger from the 1970s.
The other two, I would get confused. I just really know.
What I think Finger 11 was Paralyzer, right? From like around 2010. Doom. Paralyzer. Yeah. I don't know anything from Five Finger Death Punch, but I do know Badfinger has Day by Day. Badfinger's got some classic early 70s sound right there. It's good stuff. That's a JMV Takeover Super Sounds of the 70s after 11 Badfinger material right there. All right, quick break. Mike Chappell on the other side. So cautiously optimistic regarding the participation of Anthony Richardson coming up on Sunday. That is what is said. No practice today. My man Doug bought myself and my three boys AC/DC tickets for Ford Field April the 30th. You know how pissed I'm going to be if AC/DC doesn't land around here someplace? Come on, man. I mean, don't dot the horizon around here and then not land here. Come on. I've said all along, this is all up to Roger Penske. I know it's easy for me to say, drop like $850, $1 million, and put them in there on a damn carb day and have the greatest carb day spectacular of all time, because you would have AC/DC on carb day, and because my goal and my whole weight loss thing is to be shirtless on carb day. You would have AC/DC and me shirtless on carb day. That would go down in the history books as the greatest carb day of all time. Yeah, we got to go to Detroit to see it. Come on now. Mike Chappell on the other side. Big day tomorrow for Anthony Richardson and his practice participation and other stuff we'll get into with Mike. That's next.
Camry, now talk to him, damn it. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I should mention, and thank you for the bad finger. Super Sounds of the 70s after 11, James. I know more about this finger than I do finger 11 or five-finger death punch. You don't dig this at all, do you? Do you find this incredibly boring?
No, I think it's nice.
And now I'm not lonely with... Oh, that's a good song. Bad finger, everybody. Hey, shout out to Jim McCann in Southern California, who was kind enough for Christmas and my birthday to send me a gift card from our table. And you know who's going to be happy about that? The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. So he's going to love that. I go at least I try to go every month when he has availability on a Friday, and he calls me to our table in Bargersville with voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher. Jim McCann in Southern California is one of the best dudes of all time. Thank you, Jim, for that. And I do want to give a shout-out to James. I didn't mention this. I got some bison meat for Christmas. Red Fraser out of Bloomington. I think around Bloomington. I don't know if their farm is in Worthington. I know there is a bison farm on 46 between Ellettsville and Spencer. But Red Fraser bison, as I've told you before, I'm a huge fan of bison. Very lean, and especially with what I'm doing right now, it really fits. But Red Fraser bison, some of that for Christmas, which was pretty awesome too. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, a lot of Colts fans are hoping a belated Christmas gift could happen to them for the Colts getting back to the postseason for the first time since 2020. And to talk about that, and I guess the situation with the quarterback, no practice-wise today, Anthony Richardson. Mike Chappell joins us now. Did you have a great Christmas?
Always great when you can get together with the kids and grandkids and the wife and have a good time. But, yes, had a good time. Hope you did as well.
Would you eat some cottage cheese for your good friend John?
No, hell no. No cottage cheese, no mayo, no green beans.
Come on, man.
The wife fixed a casserole for Christmas Day. It was eggs and bacon and stuff. And, I'm one where I love bacon. I love scrambled eggs and rolls, but I prefer them separate. That's just me.
Oh, you don't want them touching one another, is what you're saying.
Well, they're going to eventually, but not before they go in. So that's me. I'm one of those guys that just does. I tell you, I used to have an uncle, my dad's brother, who would eat. Well, he just piled the stuff in the middle of his plate.
Right.
Potatoes, corn, green beans, and whatever the meat was, and he said, it's going to end up in the same place anyway, so we'll just start it that way. I thought, I don't think so.
I had jalapeno navy beans yesterday. Those are really good.
Oh, jeez. You had to, or you did out of?
No, I did. I did. That's beans are a part of my my diet routine. So
good for you.
That's occasionally, not garbanzo beans, navy beans. So I've done that here recently.
We would just probably eat at a separate table, but that's fine.
And nobody want to be around me when I eat because we're rocking tuna and stuff like that. So nobody's going to want to hang. All right. So last 2 days, it was not an official practice yesterday. Had it been, he wouldn't have participated. He didn't participate today. We know that historically speaking, in this short window of time, that when Anthony Richardson's been limited during a week, he hasn't played on Sunday. This, however, is being explained a little bit, or at least reported a little bit differently, with the cautious optimism with his participation Sunday, Mike?
Yeah, I think he plays. I mean, we'll see. It's easy for us to sit here. Friday's always especially late in the season, it's always the telltale. I think he will at least be limited tomorrow, maybe full. But I think he plays. This is just one where, you give guys at this time of the season extra rest. And he took some shots on Sunday. Not a lot. I mean, gosh, JT ran most of it. And Richardson ran 9 times, and twice he ran out of bounds and sacked once. So, but it's just the wear and tear. And I think he's going to be okay. What is it, foot and back? So we'll see. I know how he is now, how aware, I think, is that the right word, of the perception of injuries. Now, if he can't play, he's not going to play.
Right.
But I think this is simply maintenance, and we'll see to the level that he practices. I'm guessing when we talk to Shane Steichen tomorrow, he'll probably be listed questionable. But I think he plays, and I hope people don't bet on that because it's just more of a gut than anything.
Well, it's interesting because, as you allude to there, that started the whole helmet tap thing. I know. Because of his oversensitivity about telling people that he's injured, because he'd been so often injured so far, and and really said the worst thing possible that started the landslide of the 2 games being out and now being back in and all that entails 2024. So
he just has to be aware of that. He just does. And I go back to the helmet tap thing. I really think that was the naive part of him at the time, where it just didn't seem like it was a big deal to him. Come out for a play, and we could argue that till hell freezes over. But I just think that was a 22-year-old kid starting whatever it would have been is, gosh, 6th or 7th or 8th game. So, but I like I said, I think he's more aware, and nobody. We talked to Jonathan Taylor today. Nobody's healthy this time of year. Everybody's dealing with something. If you're not, it's because you haven't played. So, JT's been dealing with the right ankle from time to time and played through it, missed a game or two. Juju Brents was a full participant. I think he's going to be activated for Sunday. So hopefully he gets a chance to get out there. And maybe people say, well, what's the big deal about Brents playing the last 2 games? Well, it is because he's missed so much time, and he needs to play. So. But the injury report, the one that matters, especially when you got a holiday in the middle when they don't practice, it's Friday, and to me he'll be limited. If he's full, then it's not an issue. But if he's limited, I think Shane Steichen will keep everybody guessing a little bit.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Indy Moore Automotive Group hotline. 1 o'clock to start. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey coming up on Sunday, 10 a.m. The Colts pregame huddle starts right here on the Fan. So I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I've heard both sides of it. People want to see this team make the postseason, but others are apprehensive because they believe what that will do is give this organization reason to run it back again and not make any major changes. And I have tried to tell people that if this team goes 9-8, and they don't make the postseason, I think the same thing will happen as if they go 9-8 and do make the postseason. Nothing, really. I think if one goes, they all go. I think if they're viewed as a 9-8 team, they're going to try to sell that to the fan base that they're on the upswing right now and stay the course.
I would hate. Maybe we've talked about this. I'd hate to be someone in the marketing department if they finish 9-8, playoffs or no playoffs.
Yeah.
And the marketing scheme is, hey, stick with us. We're on the upswing. I think it's going to be hard to sell that. It will either way. I've always thought I think it's going to be better to finish 9-8 than worse because you get a winning record. It means something. Playoffs is better than no playoffs. I just believe that. But that I don't think anyone with the team will believe that means they're in good shape because they've got issues. They've got, you're going to have issues, starting with the quarterbacks, for crying out loud, as far as what you've got going forward. And then what areas do you need to – we were talking about that in the press room today. Tight end, for crying out loud, safety, cornerback. You need help at cornerback. And, offensive line, you always need people, and not knowing, hopefully Braden Smith, comes back next year, and he's played well when he's been out there. He just has some issues. So, yeah, either way, 9-8, playoffs 9-8, no playoffs, or 8-9, whatever. 8-9 would be bad because that means you lost to one of the 2 worst teams in the league. So, yeah, they know that these guys are not whistling past the graveyard. They know that they have shortcomings, and anyone who thinks this team is close to being with Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City or stuff like that. No, you're not. So, and I don't think, a playoff. I hope they get in. I think it'd be kind of cool. Well, it's kind of funny. And kicking around with Matt Taylor, let's say that Denver loses Saturday, they're in Cincy. I can see that.
Yeah.
Burrow's going to drop 35 on him because he's doing it to everybody. If that happens and the Colts win, then the Broncos go home and they play Kansas City, which will have nothing to play for, right?
Right.
So would they start Carson Wentz and then Carson Wentz has the Colts playoff hopes in his hands again. Would that be
that's
kind of odd?
That's the way it has to happen, right?
Oh, I know it. Then he either delivers for him or he screws him twice in however many years it's been. So, but this is what happens when you lose to Malik Willis and you lose games and it's this, that, and the other.
And then watch the Texans completely melt down right now where they are, and think if you would have just taken my advice and must win that situation in week 1, think of where they could be.
Oh, I know. I mean, and you're watching the way that the Texans have played. 31-2 is embarrassing. It's just embarrassing, and they're not getting much done. The last 2 years, AFC South has been there. It's just begged the Colts to win it, and they've just messed up too much. And that's why I say nobody out there at the complex nobody believes they're only a piece away. You can't look at that. So I'm really curious when this is over in the next month, how it goes and how they spin it. They've got good pieces in place. This is, as I've always said, this is what happens when you've got a quarterback that either you're not sure about or that needs developing. They will have wasted 2 of the best years of John, not 2 of, but the 2 best years in Jonathan Taylor's career. And yes, I know he dropped the ball at Denver, and a lot of this is on him for that one play. But I still go back that it's so hard to imagine that their running back rushes for 1,800 yards and 20-some touchdowns, and they don't make the playoffs. And he's going to finish with, 1,400 yards this year. And that's what I say is when you don't have the quarterback in place, you waste quality years from other players, and the rest of your team gets old. But that's where they are. And, gosh, it doesn't matter, but there's probably 8 to 10 teams in a whole lot worse shape than these guys. But that doesn't lessen how much these guys have got to do to get their act together.
It's funny. I hate this term, timeline, used in sports, because normally it's some nerd using it. But I'm going to go ahead and use it right here. They have the wackiest timeline, maybe of all time.
Agreed.
There's not one. I mean, there's hardly anybody on the damn same timeline here.
Well, and that's why the quarterback. He's got to be the guy. He's got to, in this offseason, it's got to be about playing the position and the technique and footwork and all that stuff that go into it. Take your time off at the end of the season and recoup a little bit, but then doggone it, get busy. And I don't care if it means going to have Tom House work with you or whichever Palmer it is, whether it's Jesse or Chris or whoever the Palmer is. And have the Colts get with them and say this is what we think we need to have done, and then you got to work. This is a major job now for a young player, but that's if he embraces that. Just imagine if Richardson takes off next year and has a great year and follows it up. Can you imagine what his contract's going to be in a couple of years if he is the guy? So the motivation should be to be the best player you can be at your position. And then it's, look at what the QB market is doing now as far as money. And so it either works with him or it doesn't. If it doesn't, you're set back 2 or 3 years and the whole roster will be turned over, because players get older. Quentin Nelson will be nearer the end, and he's still playing now at a all-pro level. But how long do those guys play at that level? And that's when you're waiting for the quarterback, everybody else gets older, and that's the bad part.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 Fox 59's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So that situation you just described with the quarterback, Anthony Richardson, in the more longer-term future, do you think that right now is more of a close possibility of getting there or more of an absolute Colts fan fantasy?
Good question. I was talking to somebody, and if it's odds, I am closer to the fact that he's not the guy than he is the guy. It's not like 80-20. It's like 40-60. It's 40-60 that I just have questions because I've not seen what I had hoped to see improvement as a passer. I know what he can do as a runner. I mean, what he can do as a runner is up there with everybody except Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. But I had just hoped I would have seen more advancement as a passer. 47.5, 47.7. He's barring a couple of good games, he's going to break Jack Trudeau's record for the worst completion percentage in franchise history. You know, that's I think it's Jack Trudeau and Mike Pagel are the only two to finish under 50%. So that's my concern. You know, I like the rest of his game, but the passing, I wish I'd seen more. But I'm not ready to give up on him. You cannot as a team, you can't give up on a 22-year-old kid with such great talent, raw talent, and you just have to hope that you can mold the passing part of it, because I don't care what he does as a runner. We've seen with Justin Fields. You got to be able to make X number of plays out of the pocket, and he's made some. Because, boy, you see some of these throws. I mean, holy smokes. You know, he'll throw a 40-yarder to Pierce or a 30-yarder over the middle to Downs, or he hits Pitt on that one, the 3rd and 8, and you're thinking, hey, pretty good. And then he dirts one to Mo Ali Cox, and he throws an interception that he's late on. It's just the inconsistencies, and I think I looked at it. He's 47.7, and the guy that ranks 31st in the league among qualifying quarterbacks is at 60%. So you can't have that kind of a gap. You know, I don't know that he needs to be much over 60, or if he'll ever be over 60. But boy, you've got to be better. And I just had hoped I would have seen more of that this year, and I haven't seen it.
No, and there's a reason why you're apprehensive to say, because you haven't seen close to it. And I've tried to explain that, and people think I'm anti Anthony Richardson. I'm not anti, because I want this thing to be fixed as quickly as possible. But I'm also not really understanding of, you got to wait another entire year of hopefully him becoming a better passer, to where I'm not that willing to suggest he's ever going to be. And that's where we are in terms of the NFL at that position right now. If you're not, you're not, and you're not going to win.
But I don't think yet. You know, he's 22 and he's 15 starts, and at the end of the year he's going to have 17 starts. And going into next year, it just can't be, well, he's 23 and he's only going into next year, it's got to be, this is who he is. I mean, going forward, and that's why I say I'll give him a little bit of a mulligan again, because this past off season it was about rehabbing the shoulder. And when you're doing that, it's really hard, if not impossible, to work on quarterbacking, the footwork and all that mechanics. And that's why this off season, has got to be about that. Again, he's only 22. This isn't a 26, 23-year-old guy that you're trying to rebuild as a quarterback. It's still a very, raw player, a raw talent. But that's why when we see him in OTAs or whatever next year, and in training camp, there needs to be, by the eye test, a difference. And we see out there in training camp some great throws, and then some you think, what the hell was that? And we've got to limit the what the hell was that type of things. And if he can increase or improve that part of his game, which I think there's certainly time for that to happen, then you probably have your guy. The plan B is just, it's not a good plan, whatever that is. I mean, what is it? Kirk Cousins? I mean, really, we're going to go down that alley again? So that's why they bet on him with a 4th overall pick, and I've got to believe from talking to people, it was unanimous. When the time came, it was him. And they've tied the GM, the head coach, and everybody. It's on him, and that's why we've talked. I just don't see how they blow it up. I just don't. It would be too hard, and it'd be such a strong, dramatic reset to do that. So I think the offensive side gets another year to get it right, and then And then if it's still this up and down and, hey, 500 yards rushing but 50% passing, and you're 10-7 and you're looking in the last week of the season, then you have to consider what you're doing strongly. But I just to anger the listeners, I just don't think they do that this year. Maybe they do. I think I'd be surprised unless they go to the Giants and Jacksonville and just play bad and lose to two of the worst teams in the league. That might change the owner, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
So what happened injury-wise to put Richardson in this situation of non-practice?
Good question. It didn't really come up when we talked to him Tuesday because we didn't know how he would be listed.
Well, you're not going to talk about that stuff anymore. You know that. So
well, but there was no reason. There was no hit.
Right.
Where unlike Quentin Nelson, who went out there and obliterated his helmet when he hurt his ankle. So it's unless you ask every interview, so are you hurt today? He did admit that he was sore because this is new to him because in college it wasn't quite that way, and now when you get hit, he probably got hit 7 times, 8 times in the game, but still that's 7 or 8 times of a car crash because it's these are elite athletes putting licks on you, so you're going to be sore. But I didn't notice the time in the game that he came up limping, or the trainers went over there. Maybe they did, and I just missed it. So, and a back injury. I mean, my goodness, I've had back injuries, and it paralyzes me. So you just don't know. But I think this is maintenance to some degree, and give him another day, another couple days to recover. And again, tomorrow's going to tell us everything, whether he's limited or full or whatever.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Again, in closing, they're going to finish 9-8 on the season, and they'll finish outside the postseason, and it'll be angled as they're making strides going into next year. And then probably the only change is going to be Gus Bradley, I would guess.
This 9-8 is so different from last year's 9-8.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I mean, last year 9-8 they overachieved, and doggone they were within that much of getting there. This year feels so much different. It really does.
No, 100% right there. Hey, happy holidays to you. Have a great weekend too, and we'll catch back up next week and see what the hell's going on in that final regular season when you're relying on Carson Wentz to help you get into the postseason. Again,
that would be so cool. That'd be so cool on so many bad levels.
Can you imagine how he would feel? I mean, Jim Irsay barely led him on the plane to go home after Jacksonville.
Oh, I know. So I think there'd be some kind of a ironic twist if that's the case. And either way, either he helps you or he doesn't. And if he helps you, would he be allowed back in the building? Probably still not. But it would be an appropriate ending to this wacky season, and we'll see.
Only the Colts, man. You know what I mean?
It's always something. Doggone
it. Yes. All right, buddy. I appreciate you.
Be well.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Again, Colts and Giants coming up on Sunday. 10 a.m. your coverage begins. Colts pre-game huddle right here. We've got Bud Light Blue Friday tomorrow, Tom's Watch Bar downtown off of Illinois. Would love to see you on the way. Go ahead and check it out tonight if you want to on your way to the Pacer game. Big deal, no doubt about that. Pacers and OKC right here, 6:30 is the pregame show with Pat Boyle, Mark Boyle, and Eddie Gill. You got a big one tonight. OKC beyond legit up and down the floor. The Thunder in town tonight. That's a 7 o'clock tip. You can catch it right here. Quick break. We'll come back. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yeah, and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
This sounds like a little Wang Chung re-entry right here, James. Legendary from the 1980s. Dancehall days. Enjoy. JMV, I just saw Jimmy Eggleston outside the field house waiting to get in. Shout out to Big Glenn. JMV, the Colts are in such a bad spot. Next season, the Colts will still be in a maybe he's the guy spot with being in the position to have to pay him. Yeah, it is weird. I hate the term that is utilized in sports, timeline. That is, to me, a very high level of nerdery, of dorkery, and I hate it. However, it is accurate here because there is really nothing, I guess with the exception of some of these games, more football than the Colts timeline. It is all over the page. Very true. So I hate talking about it, hate utilizing it, but damn straight that's accurate. Is this really good video here of Nick Sirianni and Zach Ertz fighting after the post game or during the post game? That's pretty awesome. Got to have more of that. I am not a fan of Nick Sirianni. Miles Turner, by the way, was listed as questionable. He is good to go, according to Tony East, who got that according to Pacer head coach Rick Carlisle. Kind of an awkward situation on Monday. Miles, who was it that somebody had fallen into him? He played the rest of the game and played really well, 23-10 in that win over Golden State on Monday night. But he was listed as questionable. Pacers get Miles and his participation tonight. The Pacers get the OKC Thunder this evening, too. And that is going to be difficult. On the season, the second best record in the NBA belongs to the Thunder, 23-5. James, can you name the team with the best record in the NBA?
Off the top of my head, without looking it up?
Yes.
I probably cannot, no.
The Cleveland Cavaliers would be 26-4. 17-1 at home, 9-3 away. They've won now 5 straight. They have Cleveland, top the Eastern Conference. Watched Boston lose yesterday. Actually, Boston's lost 2 consecutive, James.
I was about to say, the Celtics were probably going to be my guess.
Yep, Celtics 22-8, still very good. The Knicks 20-10 on the season. Knicks get a win yesterday. Victor Wembanyama, and I know that football was on yesterday, but I'm a lover of basketball, and I stayed true for the most part to the 5 games in the NBA. I wanted to give a shout-out Michael Grady, who is an awesome dude, friend of this show, friend of this station, worked here from Warren Central, was, along with Fever head coach Stephanie White, the play-by-play and the analyst work on that finale yesterday. If you watched it on Christmas Day, that was the Suns in Phoenix and Denver, and Grady, per usual, fantastic work. It was awesome. I was laying there in bed and listening to Grady. But nah, caught most of that. Most of the Sixers win over the Celtics. I will say this. You know me, I'm a huge fan of three-point shooting. Huge fan. But Boston may take me to the brink. Now, what are you going to argue? It's successful. I mean, hell, they won the title last year. These guys, almost every stinking shot they take is from 3. They take my longtime philosophy of 3's better than 2, and you thought I couldn't do math. They take my philosophy of 3's better than 2. They take it about as far as you can take it before you start to dislike it. Like all of them. Like Tatum, you understand. Jaylen Brown, you understand. Peyton Pritchard, you understand. Holiday, but even Porzingis, every shot Porzingis takes is from distance. I think when the guy's injured, he's taking shots from distance. They lost yesterday. You kind of wonder about the Sixers, 6 games below 500 in the Eastern Conference. But when their 3 dudes play, I like Tyrese Maxey a great deal. But it's few and far between when Paul George is out there and when Embiid is out there. But when they are, they can be really good. They were really good yesterday. But the Thunder, as I mentioned, in town tonight, 23-5. And they have actually, you look back, they lost in the Emirates Cup. But that doesn't count. So they're actually riding an 8-game win streak for games that do count. So they have won 8 straight. They have won 9 of their last 10. That's what the Pacers face later on tonight. And it is a damn good squad, everybody. Yeah, you know all about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's going to be at the top conversationally with NBA MVP. But one of my favorite players to watch outside of watching the Pacers is Jalen Williams, and you'll check that out later on tonight. I think, as we mentioned earlier, Alex Caruso is unavailable. But Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, you guys remember Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks last year in the Eastern Conference semifinals. He's landed here as a free agent and playing really well. Lou Dort, defensively very good. Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, just a really good squad right there. I believe they've had 5 games. Remember, I got to make sure I'm accurate on this. When Indiana State played in the NIT, they played the semifinals, much like they did the finals against Seton Hall. But the semifinals, they beat Utah, if you remember, at Hinkle Fieldhouse last March. Brandon Carlson was in that game for the Runnin' Utes. Brandon Carlson, I think, has been in 5 games for OKC this season. But it's a talented group, to say the least. 7 o'clock is that tip time. And 6:30, your coverage begins following the Colts daily update right here on the Fan. But it is a talented team, no doubt about that, coming up later on tonight. And, again, a team that has won, again, not counting the Emirates Cup and that final they lost where they didn't shoot it with a crap. Not counting that, this team has won 8 consecutive, which is impressive, to say the least. Hey, JMV, I saw you on Fox 59 earlier today. You're looking really good. What method of weight loss have you used? Actually, I did Indy, is it called Indy Style or Indy Now or Indy something or other? With that guy and that girl on Fox 59. They're very nice. But I went out there with Thomas from Premier Weight Loss, and that's what I've been doing since July, the tail end of June, early July. And I've been utilizing Zepbound, but I also, modified the diet. So I am, Kevin, right now I've lost 63. That's where I am presently, 63. 55 years of age and 63 pounds down. But yeah, I'll send that out. That video, we actually did that a couple of weeks ago. And it just aired for the first time, I think, today. So thanks to guys over at Fox 59 and to Thomas at Premier Weight Loss. Made it really good. If you need any advice on that, I can certainly help you out. I feel a hell of a lot better. Never thought for a moment I needed to either. But now I do. Now I know. JMV, the Colts will run it back and keep Ballard. They're going to give Richardson another year while only firing Gus Bradley. More seats will be empty next year. Bank on it. That is exactly how I've explained this to be, too. They will, to me, make a change at defensive coordinator, and that will be it if they go 9-8. And that is whether or not they make the postseason. And you guys don't like it, And then what happens is if they find out that he's not the quarterback, as a lot of us believe right now, for the long-term future, and they don't live up to the expectations because of that or along with other reasons coming up next year, then much like my diet, they're going to modify that majorly. But not until then. 239-1070, stretch run of the show on this Thursday. Thank you for joining us. And Tom's Watch Bar tomorrow on a Bud Light Blue Friday downtown on Illinois. And Todd joins us now. Hello, Todd.
Hey, John. I guess Happy New Year, right? Soon.
We are closing in on a new year, aren't we, buddy?
Yeah, we are. Hey, by the way, I turned into B105 today. I heard 38 Special and John Waite.
You did. They as soon as Christmas is over, they get the hell out of Dodge with the Christmas music. Yes.
No Karen Carpenter. So
no, they are back with the normal music flow. Now, I could fire things up on Saturday. However, I'm going to wait until New Year's Eve. I don't want to do it really on Saturday and then turn around and do it on Tuesday again. So I'm going to do it on Tuesday night, the JMV takeover on New Year's Eve. Hopefully everybody's listening.
That was my belief. Just hypothetical. Let's say they drop these two games.
Yeah.
The Giants and Jacksonville. That's a game changer. Am I right?
No, it is. Well, and Mike Chappell and I talked about that. If that takes place, then that's going to really piss the reactivated here recently. We've seen him a lot more owner, and that's a game changer. You know, much like Daisy Dips in the dip game, that's a game changer, Todd. If they lose in some sort of fashion, which would be described as embarrassing in one of these final two. If they lose in typical Jacksonville end-of-the-year fashion and it costs them the postseason, that's a game changer. But if they go 9-8, per we think they're going to go, and they still are just outside the postseason, that is going to be angled. That is going to be discussed from them. They will put this together as building blocks for the future and on the right track. And there are going to be a lot of people that are Colts fans that will not want to hear it, but that is going to be their angle.
And to clarify, if both Denver and the Chargers win on Saturday, that's also game over, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
that's why, you can find out what you're doing on Sunday just by virtue of the Broncos on the road in Cincinnati on Saturday and the Chargers on the road in New England and Foxborough on Saturday, yeah. So a lot of that's going to be laid out for you.
One quick Pacer thing, and James can do a double check on this. I'm going by memory here. I'm pretty sure the Pacers swept OKC last year. I also believe that Alexander did not play in either contest.
I believe that to be the case. Yeah. Yes, I think that's the first time. James, check that out. But, Todd, I believe you're right about the sweep. I believe you're right about Gilgeous Alexander in non-participating situations from a year ago.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's two good wins on your scorecard. But,
Yeah, and that's a really good squad. And like I said, without the Emirates Cup in mind here, they've won 8 consecutive games. James, what do you got for us here? Is that true?
That looks to be true.
Yeah, it's a good squad. And, really, with the way you look at it, they go OKC tonight at home, Boston back-to-back Friday and Sunday on the road, and then back home New Year's Eve against Milwaukee. And then to start the new year, I believe they have the Heat. So you've got – speaking of Heat, you got a Heat check, I think, a little bit in terms of the matchups you have in the next 5 here.
I don't think we're on Butler's list, by the way. But I'm flying to Florida on Sunday, so
yes.
You guys have a great New Year, and I'll talk to you guys sometime, as they say, next year.
Have a great time in Florida, Todd. Thank you very much. Let me get BT in here before the break. BT, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. How was your Christmas?
Did you go by the steer-in today to get some food?
No, I drove past.
Oh, drove past. My Christmas was good. I made 2 Diamondbacks to Greene County and went to Ollie's in Linton on Christmas Eve. And you tell me if your Christmas Eve can beat that. Probably not.
Well, I did send you a text. I went through Bargersville Christmas Eve.
I was not there. First of all, it's funny, BT. I don't get any cell phone whatsoever where my mom lives. So as soon as I get on I-69, to come back home, I get all these thousands of messages that start popping in. But, yeah, I get nothing where she lives because I don't have AT&T, and I think AT&T is the coverage down there.
I think Jim McCann, instead of that sweet gift certificate, he should have just got you like a Daisy brand gift card or something.
Hey, we got a good advertisement out of that, too. It's kind of like the cheese thing we did last year. I mean, all of a sudden you start that, and you get an advertisement out of it. We got a good advertisement from Daisy because of that. No, I actually cheated on Daisy a little bit. I went to Gordon's because I found out down at Snaps in Jasper where they got their cottage cheese, and I liked it, and I went to Gordon's in Greenwood, and they had this huge tub of it, and I bought a huge tub of cottage cheese and brought it home. So I think I am kind of cheating on Daisy a little bit here, yeah.
That is nasty.
I know. I mean, you should see this thing. It's like the episode of Seinfeld where Kramer was going to like the Sam's Club stuff and getting all the big cans and the big jars, big containers of stuff. That's what I have now, or did have, yeah.
Hey, that road trip by the Pacers, that was unbelievable.
It was nice.
Man.
Yeah.
Are you buying into them? Are they back to what we thought?
I got to see more because you're going to have a big test of that tonight and then a couple on the road in Boston and then back with Milwaukee. I think we're going to learn a lot in the next 4 to 5 games about the legitimacy of this recent run for sure.
Cool.
All right, buddy.
All right.
New Year's Eve, JMV Takeover. We're going to be back. Be ready to go.
I might have to choose a track off that White Lion album I got.
I love that White Lion. That's great vinyl right there. My daughter would be very happy to see that. Loves the vinyl.
When I opened it, I was very happy.
Nothing like Wait or When the Children Cry. That makes me sad right there. All right, my brother. I appreciate it, BT. Happy holidays.
All right, man. You too, buddy.
Quick one, we shall return for a final time, get you set for the Colts Daily Update, and then Pacer Hoops after that. AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live. Happy holidays from us at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Totally awesome. All right, Hamilton. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
There we go. BT do for you. White Lion vinyl I saw that he had on social media earlier today. White Lion is a great hair band from the late 80s, early 90s back then. Good stuff. At tomorrow's Showtime's Watch Bar, we are downtown on Illinois. That's a Bud Light Blue Friday. We've got a ton to give away. So if you've not been there for the first time, join us at Tom's Watch Bar tomorrow. Should be a fantastic time. Off of Illinois, downtown, And there are going to be a lot of games going on. I probably should check on the games that are going on. For example, you've got overtime right now with Pittsburgh and Toledo. That is the game above Sports Bowl at Ford Field in Detroit. And Rutgers and Kansas State underway in the Rate Bowl. 68 Ventures Bowl tonight features Arkansas State and Bowling Green. Now, what we got? Where's the tomorrow stuff here? The hell is tomorrow? Oh, yeah, the 27th is tomorrow, right? At noon, that's Oklahoma and Navy, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, 3:30 Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt, the Birmingham Bowl, 7 o'clock, Texas Tech and Arkansas, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. DirecTV Holiday Bowl features number 21 Syracuse and Washington State tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And, man, it's a long day of bowls. USC and Texas A&M in the Las Vegas Bowl coming up tomorrow. But what I mean, there are lots of opportunities for you guys to join us and hang out and watch a little bit of sports, a little bit of football tomorrow. Tom's Watch Bar. We're going to be live with you downtown on a Bud Light Blue Friday. Colts tickets to give away for that regular season finale against Jacksonville and other stuff, too. Would love to see you. Michael says cheating on Daisy is like cheating on Catherine Bach. Say it ain't so. I'm not actually cheating. I have 3 containers of Daisy brand cottage cheese in the refrigerator. I just bought a huge one of whatever this Gordon's stuff is. So, not quite cheating. Playing the field, I guess, in this case. And I've really only found one other one that is digestible outside of the Daisy brand. That's about it. Skivvies writes this. So we were at a pizza buffet today, and they had cottage cheese on the salad bar as a part of it. Any great salad bar is going to have cottage cheese, Skivvies, for sure. SPT says, I can't wait for the patent of the JMV cottage cheese diet. I think you're going to make a killing. High protein all the time, SPT. All the time. And I'm just afraid to get off of it. I'm going to stay on it until I get to where I want to get. I don't trust myself. Afraid once I get off of it that I brought in, my mom made, did you try the cake yet? My mom made this huge cake and put about a foot of icing on top of it. And I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I brought it in. I can't eat it. I'll take it. So I brought that bad boy in here. So everybody can take advantage of it. Now, I hope everybody had a great holiday, great Christmas, whether it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And we've got a lot for you coming up, not just tomorrow on the road at Tom's Watch Bar on a Bud Light Blue Friday, but coming up on Saturday, Colts pregame huddle as well. Now, obviously, tomorrow we'll be watching Anthony Richardson. The expectation is he'll practice and be ready to go coming up on Sunday. Cautiously optimistic is how the Colts describe that, and we'll find out a hell of a lot more coming up tomorrow. Don Fisher, voice of the Hoosiers, joins us coming up on tomorrow's show, and Don's going to be very excited that our good friend Jim McCann in Southern California decided to go ahead and lob in some R-Table gift cards for us. We'll talk to Don. Next up for IU and Winthrop, that's on Sunday. Don joins us tomorrow. Mike Wells tomorrow. Bob Lovell tomorrow. Normal Friday. Tom's Watch Bar, Bud Light Blue Friday. That is downtown. Coming up tomorrow, we'll love to see you there. Meantime, up next, we got a break here now. Are you going to play any music out? Are we doing?
Well, we got Anything Goes, and then we go into the daily update.
We do? We have Anything Goes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hell, I'm sorry. 239-1070. We do have, how long on the clock?
We will have about 8.5 minutes.
8.5 minutes of Anything Goes. I'm all up for it if you guys are. Holiday season, Anything Goes at 239-1070. You guys and me for about 8 minutes. That's coming up next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Pants is cool. Consider me Miles Davis.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, let's do some Anything Goes at 239-1070. Bottom of the hour, Pat Boyle and Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill. Pacers look to make it 6 in a row. The Thunder look to make it 9 in a row, not including the Emirates Cup final in Vegas about 4 games back in which they lost. But 8 consecutive meaningful counting games for the Thunder, and the Pacers 5 straight, 3 of those coming out west on the road. Most recently, Pacers Thunder, bottom of the hour, 93.5. 107.5, The Fan. Tom's Watch Bar tomorrow. Got you covered with Colts, tickets, and more. Bud Light Blue Friday, and it should be a blast. If the first time you've ever been there, just check it out with me. We'll have a good time tomorrow. Tom's Watch Bar. Cannot wait to see you there. 51 years ago today, I always felt this was a very odd time to release this film. 51 years ago today, which would be, 1974? End of 74?
51 would be 73.
No, end of 73, going to be early 74. The Exorcist. And if you guys remember, this goes back long ago. Let's say around 2011, 2012. Linda Blair in The Exorcist was once in studio with me. And it was awesome. And the only thing I could think about, I couldn't think about her role in The Exorcist. I could think about her role in Chained Heat. The women's prison, everybody's naked film that I loved back in 1983. I'm not thinking about your head spinning around and you barfing on everybody. I'm thinking about you and Sybil Danning in Chained Heat. 51 years ago today. That's it. Somebody asked me, which game was it okay for them to lose? I didn't say there's any game for them okay to lose. I just said a must-win is a must-win no matter what time of year you're talking about. It just matters the situation. Who said anything about them being okay to lose a game, numbnuts? Come on. All right, so anything goes at 239-1070. We'll kick it off with our guy, BTR. Hello, BTR.
Hey, B. JMV.
How are you doing, BTR?
Great. Hope you had a great Christmas.
Oh, I had a fantastic Christmas. Thank you very much, buddy.
I want 3 questions answered. What's your best and worst gift you received yesterday, and who you got tonight against OKC?
All right, I'm going to go. I want to see the Pacers win 6 straight, and I want to see them take care of a really good team, the second best team record-wise in the NBA, the best team out west. I want to see that ongoing because this is a stretch of 5 games that you've got really good teams, and I want to see them start that portion of things off out with a bang tonight. So I'm going to go with the Pacers, and best thing I got. Everything was really good. I will say this. I said this earlier, Red Fraser bison. That is good to go to grill. You ever had bison, BTR?
Yes, I have.
Bison meat.
It was kind of dry, but I was disappointed. But
bison meat is some of my favorite out there. It is chock full of protein, and I dig it. So I got some good bison. I've got some good boots. I got some Carhartt jeans. Holy crap, BTR! I'm on the loose.
What was your worst? Candy?
Well, no, because it was the thought that counts. But there was a lot of candy and cookies and cake given to me that I had to pass along to others. Yes. But I love the thought. It counts very much.
Love you, brother.
BTR, thank you very much on Anything Goes. Yeah, nothing was really bad. It was all good. I know. I kind of described I got boots and Carhartt jeans. It kind of sounds like I'm going to work. When did Carhartt jeans or Carhartt in general go from, hey, I'm going to get this because I'm going to work outside and this is hard and these are durable clothes and shoes and boots to now it being a fashion statement? When did that happen on Anything Goes? Anybody know? I talk about modifying things all the time. When did that modification be known? I'm sure the people, the fine folks at Carhartt love it. But, yeah, it went as now it's a fashion statement, everybody. All right, Colts Daily Update coming up, bottom of the hour, Pacers. I do want to see them beat OKC. Actually, because this is at least at home. You got two coming up against Boston. Boston lost yesterday on Christmas Day. You go back-to-back in Boston, Friday and Sunday. Get something done at home tonight. JJ is up next. Happy holidays, JJ.
Daymar, what's happening?
There is JJ. How's it going, buddy?
I'm too blessed to be stressed, blessed by the best. Hey,
right there with you.
Real quick, next holiday, I'm going to have to bring a Tupperware full of our favorite holiday meal, some winter greens, water bread, and some KY, my guy.
Do what now?
KY. Not the jelly.
What's KY?
Chitterlings.
Do what?
Look it up. Chitterlings.
Okay. Hey, remember, you're not dealing with the sharpest tool in the shed right here, JJ. Remember that.
Look up chitterlings, and then.
Oh, you talking? Did you say chitlins?
Yes.
All right, so that's pronounced where I'm from, a little bit more southern. So yes.
Same here. I just wanted to emphasize.
I'm a big fan of. People know this, JJ. I'm a big fan of soul food for one. Huge fan.
Right on.
I like collard greens. I like cheese grits, all that. I got to run here, JJ. Thank you very much. Big fan of soul food. That's why I want to hit New Orleans coming up for the Super Bowl with our friends from Bullseye. And I love it down there. That's a lot of carbs for a guy right now, but I love the food. All right, Colts Daily Update next, James. After that, Pacer pregame. We'll get you there. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Don't go away.